I gotta be honest with y'all. When I first heard about the story, I didn't really care. You know what I mean? If I'm just being a buck about it. I mean, we hear these stories, and my attitude about it is we don't really be knowing these people. We use it as fodder to have maybe more deeper conversations. The part that I missed though was the deeper conversation of boundaries to a certain extent, because what Brian was expressing publicly, I think, was his boundaries. And for some reason, like when he set those boundaries, we didn't understand what that meant, because how could a father maybe be estranged from his child? Like when we think about a parent, for example, let's say your kid is a crackhead, right? Just hypothetically, I've seen stories where parents have to make the tough choice, right, in terms of not enabling their children to separate themselves from their child because their child is acting or behaving in a way that they feel like is detrimental, right? So we understand in that prism, but what we don't understand it is maybe in other ways, right? According to Brian, his kids that he looked out for, held down, paid everything for up until like they were in their mid-20s, right, at some point in time ran afoul. They were not trying to be down with any type of program, and he had to set boundaries. And once he set those boundaries, according to him, that's when all the different stories started coming out, right? His kids, his sons, his namesake, his ex-wife were putting out their stories about him. Now, I get that it's easy for us to look at the lens of a woman because the story that of hurt that women go through is so plentiful that yes, right? Many of us grew up in homes where our mothers were hurt a certain type of way. But what's funny though is that we never acknowledge, it seems like, that there are men who also get hurt in the process, or men who show up a certain type of way, right? And when those men decide to speak up, especially when they're being lied on, for example, right? Or if they can show receipts, somehow it's something else. Like it almost makes me wonder, like, do we give a fuck? Well, or at least the people who don't give a fuck, at least when the receipts come out to say, you know what, my bad, let me recheck, right? Some of y'all are so fucked up that y'all are so stuck on the bullshit that y'all can't even acknowledge how you play a part in it, right? To a certain extent. It's okay to have wrong information. But once you get some additional information, it's also okay to say, you know what, this is a human being who had an experience that didn't align with what I thought it did. And if I'm being honest, that person deserves some fucking grace, because this nigga said he never loved Shorty, right? He had sex with her. He was forced to marry her at a young age, right? Before he was even old enough to even graduate from college, if he was ever going to go that route. And he did the right fucking thing for all of those years. Say what the fuck you want to say. Yeah, he made money, but he ain't know that shit. The point is, he did the right fucking thing. And despite all those years of doing the right fucking thing, the minute you do the wrong thing according to them, oh, now they get to be outside and besmirch you and kill you. Can you imagine what it would feel like when all you have is your name and you feel like you've done everything right, despite the fact that you've had to subjugate yourself to a loveless marriage and a relationship that you were not convicted to? But despite that, right? Despite taking your kids back and still giving Shorty the fucking child support, because it's not about the money, right? You want to be there. Despite all that, despite saying, hey man, I'm going to put you up in an apartment, I'm going to hold you down. Even if you don't fuck with me, cool. But for you to go out there publicly and besmirch my name as if I didn't fucking take care of you for all these fucking years, you mean to tell me a human being is not allowed to feel some type of way? And what's sad, right, is despite all that, assuming that it's all true, some of y'all won't give a damn, right? Which what this unearths to me is that some of y'all don't like niggas for real. And I'm sorry that the nigga that hurt you does not allow you to see a nigga as a human being. But if a person is doing what he's supposed to fucking do, right, at the end of the day, he deserves a little fucking grace. You know what I'm saying? Just a smidgen, which is why kudos to him, because if you watch the interview, he still seems somewhat unbothered. Not all the way, because what the fuck? You expect niggas to be superhuman, right? We can't show no emotion whatsoever. He can't be happy he won a lawsuit that proved the bitch was lying, right? Even if it coincidentally fell on the day that his son passed away, right? Even not being informed, according to him, of the cancer that his son had. Can you imagine as a parent what it would feel like to not feel like you could be a part of your son's life because y'all motherfuckers are tripping? You know what I'm saying? Because y'all don't got the emotional intelligence or the wherewithal to get past yourself, especially when lives are on the fucking line. And then y'all got the nerve to bring up the fact that lives are on the fucking line. Like, make that make sense, right? So all I'm saying is, like, to me, kudos to him for not only speaking out. And again, I don't know what is true or what's not true. But if you watch a person speak, because Anton Daniels, he's like anti taking on other people's kids. He's kind of anti the whole stepfather thing, right? And he was kind of trying to prove the point in regards to the money that Brian McKnight had to pay. And I could tell that Brian McKnight was being genuine because for him, it wasn't about the money. He was like, yo, she had the kids. I'm gonna take care of my responsibilities. He wasn't tripping off of the money. But like after you try a person enough, after you disrespect a person enough, after you show a person your ass and kiss enough, at some point in time, that person has the right to say, fuck the fuck off. You know what I'm saying? Kick rocks. You know what I'm saying? Even if it is your own fucking kids, right? Because sometimes it be them or you. And who would not understand a person choosing themselves, right? Sometimes y'all motherfuckers are so toxic that a nigga got to decide to just step the fuck away. You know what I'm saying? And then don't let it be public too. Now I gotta show that y'all are pieces of shit. I have to separate myself from y'all because out of bloodline, you get to talk your talk and people can take you seriously. It wasn't because of your singing or your hard work or your talent. The only reason why people are paying attention to you besmirching me is because of me. Can you imagine? And you got my name? I mean, what the fuck, y'all? I'm sorry. Like, so I'll conclude by saying I get that for most of us, we don't get any of this, right? Because we're okay with abuse from family members, and we're okay with, for the sake of obligation, being in a relationship that no longer serves us. But some people are not, right? And they put up boundaries. And I'm okay with the boundaries that he set because his story made sense. He seemed to have receipts, and there's too many stories of people who overstep their fucking boundaries, who are too overly entitled, who are emotionally incapable of having real conversations. And so when I heard him, he sounded like somebody who's capable and he was confident. And the last thing was his wife, he said that for the first time, she helped him see his value. Right? I get that for some of us, maybe we don't get that, but that means that for a very long time, the other women and maybe some of the other people in his life did not let him see. And I don't think people understand how important it is to be seen, to be loved for you, to be accepted, to strive, right? To grow, to glow. Even, you know what I'm saying? And so for him, he found that. And kudos to him for finding it. And kudos to him for telling his truth. And kudos to Anton, despite the shit he tried to sneak in there for the fucking interview. That's all I got.